Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's a great feeling when we look out. We actually see a lot of members of the public here, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to a wonderful display of what our students are doing, and we're going to turn it right now over to Dr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. So I'm very proud to welcome our community choir, made up of students from DBO and from Dwyer School, under the leadership of Miss Casey Goria. So we would like to get right to the good stuff and let you guys begin.
performing at the Rockaway Township Library on Valentine's Day, where we'll be singing about songs of love and friendship.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle's round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. That's how long I want to be your friend. Are
boys and girls, you look great, you sound great. We know that that sound that you made for us tonight it comes from hard work and a lot of dedication, and we really appreciate you being with us here tonight. I'm sure that the board would probably wish we could just hear you and leave, but we truly appreciate you being with us tonight. And this is part of an effort to truly celebrate the talents and the skills of our students throughout the year. So we'll be having performances at all of our board meetings for the remainder of the year. And at this time, we'd like to invite up our art department. We have Ms. Riley, Ms. Rinko, and Ms. Ariello, who are going to be presenting some of our art. We have it on display here. I hope you've had a chance to see some of the skills of our art students as well.
Which is always put up during Youth Art Month, which is the month of March, where we celebrate the visual arts and music as well. And we would love to invite you all to come and see that art show over at the Municipal Building. It will be up from February 28th until April 1st. Let me hand it over to Amy.
Slideshow here. So this is district-wide art, preschool through 8th grade.
Or post on Facebook that all your friends will see. Or people for your English class. You just have to get it.
I am Katie Riley. I am an art teacher at TBO. And so you saw that we have a wide range of artwork that we do through from pre-K to 8th grade. But we thought it'd be fun for you to have a behind-the-scenes look at what we do in the art room. So we have some students from Mrs. Connor's 3rd grade class at TBO here today to introduce this quick video project that we made to give you a behind-the-scenes look. So girls, if you want to come over here.
Hello everyone, my name is Brooke LeClaire and here are my classmates Alexa, Aditi, Tegan, Eva, Gianna, and Mackenzie. We are all in Mrs. Connor's 3rd grade class. We are very excited to be here tonight to introduce our special project that we worked very hard on with our art teacher, Mrs. Riley.
Before we show the video, we would like to thank the Board of Education and our superintendent, Dr. McLaughlin, for inviting us and supporting us and for supporting the art program. We would also like to thank Mrs. Riley for helping us make this video. We really love art and are lucky to have it in our schools. We are especially lucky to have Mrs. Riley as an art teacher.
In art class, we spent most of our time creating projects with things like paint and clay and other fun materials. But a few weeks ago, we spent a class with Miss Riley making a video reflecting on a project that we had just finished. We worked in groups to think about what we learned, what we liked about our work, and what we still wondered after finishing. Without Mrs. Riley, we wouldn't be the artists we are now. Miss Riley is a great art teacher.
The project we reflected on was a winter landscape project that taught us about one-point perspective. You'll hear more about that in the video. We hope you enjoy this behind-the-scenes peek at art classes with Miss Riley at DVO. We also learned about how the Renaissance art used perspective to make their art look 3D. We thought it was really cool. The sunsets are so beautiful. I'm so glad that Miss Riley taught us how to do this, because now we can do these things at home and have fun with it. Art is a really fun, special, and we love art. It was magnificent that Miss Riley taught us these amazing things. What I liked about this project was making the houses. What I liked about this project was making the animals. What I liked about this project was making Santa Claus. What I liked about this project was the reindeer. My challenging part was making the sky. What I wondered about this after completing this project was how would it look like if there was more texture to the animals, the cars, or the cat. did make a pretty good project. That's what we're going to Bye! We really enjoyed this project. Thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you liked it. We love arts!
Thank you so much for watching our presentation, and thank you to the Board of Education and to our administrators for their support of the art program at Rockaway Township.
I think that was a great representation of a lot of talent, both visual and auditory, and I think we have a lot to be proud of in our town. Thank you again. It's a school night, so boys and girls, you're free to go unless you really want to hear the rest of the agenda, but I think you're probably better off heading home. So thank you so much.
Parents on.
Mom, I think
As much as I love the activity, there's a lot of energy right now. We need to get on with our meeting. So at this time, again, on behalf of the board, for those of you who are still standing here, thanks again. And I've already spoken to the art teachers and the music teachers, and we truly appreciate all that you do. During the course of the board meeting, the Rockaway Township Board of Education offers members of the public an opportunity to address issues regarding the operation of the Rockaway Township Public Schools. The board reminds those individuals who take this opportunity to identify themselves by name and address and to limit their comments to items listed on the agenda and or items directly related to the operation of the school district. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in the comments, and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. May I have a motion, please, to open it to the public? So moved. Mrs. Brooks? Second. Second with Mrs. Shields. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to please come up to the microphone? If you could just state your name and address, that would be great. Thank you.
My name is Denise Lanza-Rizzi. I happen to be a resident of the township on New Place, but I'm also here representing Preschool Advantage as a nonprofit board member. So I just would like to take a couple of minutes to tell you what we do at Preschool Advantage. Glasses. We've been around for more than 20 years, and what we do is we pay tuition for 3- and 4-year-old children for families in need to attend 25 high-quality partner preschools in Morris and Somerset counties. Around here, we partner with Union Hill Preschool in Denville and El Primer Paso in Dover, and some of our students will ultimately be here in the township schools. Why do we do it? So children of our families who have less financial stability fall behind, as you know, fall behind their peers by age 3, and they fall farther and farther behind by the time they enter kindergarten. Studies have shown the most effective way to make up for that gap is to provide high-quality preschool education. When children who are in preschool get to kindergarten, they're ready to learn, helps all of the children in the classroom, the teacher, and the entire school community. So who do we help? Well, Federal Head Start is available for the neediest people in our community, but there's a huge group of people who fall below the federal poverty level and what you actually need here in Morris County to sustain a family in our expensive area. So according to United Way, a study recently done in 2016 shows that 40% of Rockaway area households struggle to meet basic living costs. The federal poverty level is $24,300. To sustain a family of 4 here in Morris County, you need $81,552, according to the United Way. Our families in Preschool Advantage, the average median income was $45,697. So we funded 85 children in September 2018-2019 school year, and our goal for next year is 100 preschool tuitions. So we started taking applications January 1st, and that continues through February 28th. We do accept applications later, but our first round is reviewed after February 28th. So what I'd just like to do tonight is to encourage you to spread the word to families in your district who might not be able to afford the cost of preschool, including parents of existing students and some of your district staff, teachers, aides, custodians, etc. I have a couple flyers with me and rack cards if I can leave them with you. And please let us help 100 children in September. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you could share that with us electronically, we might be able to put that out through our auspices. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, may I have a motion, please, to close to the public? So moved. Mrs. Brooks? Second. Mrs. Cherico? Moving on to communications. Any additional correspondence? No, there was not. Thank you very much. Moving on then to approve the minutes of January 23rd. May I have a motion, please? So moved. Mrs. Shields? Second. Mrs. Halberg? Board discussion on the minutes. If not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherico?
Yes.
Mrs. Halberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Nezek?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fowling?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on then to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm proud to share tonight that Stony Brook School will be recognized as a New Jersey State School of Character. This is a particularly noteworthy achievement, particularly since the designation occurs within our very first year of participation with the New Jersey Schools of Character. I'd also like to congratulate the Dennis B. O'Brien School for being named as an Honorable Mention School of Character, and the feedback from the rating committee indicates that DBO is in good standing to reach statewide recognition next year. Both schools will be honored at a recognition ceremony at Rider University on May 31st. Also, I want to add in addition that there will be a visitation to Stony Brook School by the Schools of Character in consideration of its standing as a national school of character. So we wish them luck in that process, and we look forward to the visit. Earlier this year, our district adopted the core beliefs of HEART: honesty, empathy, acceptance, respect, and trust. And in so many ways, we have seen those core values reflected in our instruction, in our curriculum, and in our everyday efforts among our school community. We're proud to be a district that commits to the needs of the whole child, and we place these beliefs at the center of all that we do. On Thursday and Friday of last week, a district team composed of Dr. Tanamian, Ms. Waxman, Mr. El Taib, Mr. Maragon, and myself attended Texpo. Each year, NJASA organizes a conference with the overarching theme of technology, and school teams throughout the state of New Jersey present on applications and best practices that attendees may benefit from and incorporate into their own practice. Our team attended a myriad of workshops, and we are prepared to share that information with our colleagues as we plan ahead. Of particular benefit were sessions that we attended on makerspace, coding, video production, and data-informed instruction. Rockaway Township has been a past presenter at Texpo, and it is our intent to submit proposals for Texpo 2020 to share the good work being done in our district with the wider educational community. In an effort to foster and support teachers from our district with aspirations to school and district leadership, a seminar program will be delivered to our teaching staff. This seminar program will be supplemented by participation in Seton Hall University's Aspiring Principal Program. I'm pleased that 12 teachers have expressed an interest in the leadership seminar, to which we invited all staff. Seminar participants will both learn and apply their learning through active projects in our schools. I will keep the board informed regarding the progress of this endeavor. I'm happy to share that we have committed to the purchase of 2 exterior bus cameras that we hope to have installed for April use. These cameras will serve to detect violators of red light stops, and it is our expectation, as awareness spreads, that we will see less violations that place our children at risk. We will keep the board informed of our progress as we proceed. Finally, I'd like to update the board in regard to our Director of Special Education search. Surveys and in-person sessions have been established to obtain the input of staff and parents regarding the most desirable attributes of our next leader for special education. Applications have been received, and the interview process will take place in late February, with an expected recommendation to the board on March the 6th for the individual who will assume this position on July the 1st. And under the new business section of our agenda tonight, we will share some of the information that was shared with us earlier this week by parents and invite the board to do the same. That completes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. McLaughlin? If not, moving on then to the Business Administrator's report.
Good evening. Here's an update on district projects. Due to the weather last week, we attempted to delay the cutover of the phones at Dwyer until Thursday and then have the training on Friday. Unfortunately, Verizon did not get the message in time from Altice, and the phones were cut over earlier, and the staff at Dwyer went without training for 2 days. The last installation to be done will be the administrative offices, which should be scheduled in the next few weeks. At that point, the phone project will be complete. Late this afternoon, I received a message from our contact at Altice, and they're looking at February 20th for the cutover and 21st for the training. The parking lot at DBO, the contract documents for the repair of Dennis B. O'Brien parking lot have been completed. The architect will now submit them to the state for approval, and the project will then go out for bid. Just to add a little more information about the bus arm cameras, 2 bus arm cameras have been ordered as a pilot program for the district. Transportation is asking for driver input to determine which routes would benefit the most from having this equipment on their bus. The cameras will be installed on our 2 new buses. The transportation department will then rotate the buses throughout the routes to have the drivers gauge their effectiveness. The budget meetings with various schools and departments is continuing for the next few weeks. The governor's address is scheduled for March 5th. At that point, we'll receive the district's state aid numbers by March 7th, allowing us to complete the final sections of the budget for the March 20th county submission. Budget work sessions and public hearing meetings will be scheduled shortly. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. DeCarlo? Not then, we'll move on to curriculum report. Dr. Tanavia?
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to begin my comments tonight by thanking all of the elementary teachers and principals who have participated in the first round of literacy coaching professional development. We are currently in phase 1 of our professional development cycle, and we have hosted 3 coaching visits. Our next coaching visit is scheduled for February 26th and will be hosted at Birchwood School. I applaud the professionalism of our teachers and leaders as they have jumped into this work highly attentive and engaged. The next round of coaching visits will focus on the skills of conferencing with students. This past Monday, I had an opportunity to observe the staff meeting at Birchwood Elementary School. As a leadership team, we recently began to think about ways we can transform our faculty meeting time into more authentic professional learning time for our teachers and staff. I would like to acknowledge Principal McCombs and her staff for embracing this approach. During their hour-long faculty meeting, the staff was able to cover needed updates and information sharing in a timely manner. Once complete, Principal McCombs divided her team of teachers and staff into 4 groups and assigned each group a professional learning task. For the remainder of the time, the team worked collaboratively to address issues related to teacher development and school community initiatives. I know our school leaders are taking similar steps to transform their faculty meeting time into professional learning time, and I will aim to highlight these efforts more in the future. At the same time, I would like to applaud Principal McCombs and her staff for the work I observed last week. As Dr. McLaughlin noted, this past week I had the opportunity to attend the 2019 New Jersey Texpo Conference with 4 of my colleagues. Texpo offers a countless number of workshops highlighting various examples of how schools are integrating technology with their educational programs all across New Jersey. The workshops are all designed and facilitated by practitioners and provided our team with an excellent opportunity to learn from colleagues in other districts about the many different ways they're using technology to enhance all aspects of their educational programs. From summer reading programs to gamification resources to examples for how to use Google in different ways, the conference afforded our team the opportunity to access a ton of resources. The team has cataloged these resources and will be meeting over the next couple of weeks to reflect about our learning and begin to plan ways to apply our learning to our ongoing development. February 15th will be serving as an early dismissal day for all of our students, so we may provide our teachers and staff with professional development activities aligned with our goals. On the 15th, we will continue our grade group meetings at the elementary level while providing our Copeland teachers with opportunities to plan differentiated lessons with their colleagues. Similar to other PD days, I will be sharing a schedule of all activities that we will be offering our staff by early next week. On the board agenda this evening, we have several items we ask the board to approve annually so the community stays abreast of the curricular resources we use to support learning in specific subject areas and ongoing programs like our mentor plan that we have in place each school year. And then lastly, as a reminder, we will be hosting an evening of science on February 13th for 4th grade families at Copeland Middle School from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. I encourage families to join us for an evening of science and learning with their child. We are launching this experience to gauge community interest in these types of activities. In the past, the district has hosted a variety of these types of activities, and we will have room for 25 families to participate in this initial activity. Mrs. Parisi and Mrs. Waxman will be the instructors. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Dr. Tananian?
Yes, I have one. Regarding your textbook with the summer reading programs, you said that there are some resources. Would they be available online or?
What's available online to us from those experiences are the workshops. But what I found even more helpful was all of the workshop presenters are very giving of their time and their information. And so the summer reading program, which I appreciate you highlighting, what struck me, I was someone who participated in that workshop, what struck me about the district that presented that data and the design of their workshop was 2 years ago, they had measured the Lexile level of their students prior to going away for the summer and when they first came back. And what that district had experienced was what we know generally to be true is there's a sort of summer slide, if you would, a regression in student learning. And a year ago, they restructured their summer reading program to focus on choice versus accountability, basically saying they gave their students choice and options in what they were going to read that summer, and then they created some online forums for students to participate in book talks and forums. I thought it was very exciting. And what was compelling, just in 1 year, it's anecdotal data, but just in 1 year, their Lexile data from the June or May timeframe to the fall timeframe was flat. There was no decline. And so I thought that was a very compelling slide. My takeaway from the experience was to come back and meet with our language arts articulator here at Copeland. And we've already put our language arts articulator in contact with the presenters of that presentation so that we can hopefully rethink our summer reading program here. And one of my goals is by this spring to be able to come forth with the community for a plan for a summer reading program that, from my perspective, would be really exciting if it's rooted in that concept of choice and empowering students to choose exciting titles and then creating online communities for them to talk about their summer reading.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
I do have a question. To branch off from Nancy's comment, is there anything like that out there that you heard of for math or science?
I didn't experience anything specific to that for math or science, but I think we should be engaging in as many online resources as we can to keep our students as engaged as possible over the summer in these ways. So my hope is to begin to pilot something this summer in partnership with our teachers and the community. So the key I think takeaway for me from that experience was the redesign of their program was an explicit, intentional shift away from accountability. Basically saying if you don't do this, everyone has to be on the same page day one, where they found year after year frustration with getting completion rates and kind of focusing more on student choice in those areas, and they saw an increase in engagement. So I think we can apply those same principles to other content areas.
Mrs. Shields.
Yeah, has anything been sent out about the science night to families? Because I'm a fourth grade parent, I haven't seen it.
Over the last 48 hours, it's my understanding that those blasts have gone out. I can say that district website has also been updated on the news feed as of this morning with that information. So I can verify that again later this evening.
I did get an email. So I'm on somebody's list.
I'm glad.
Yesterday. I got it.
Okay. Well then I would, to the extent that clearly there's a breakdown in communication because we want that to be communicated uniformly, so I would take responsibility for that and apologize. I regret that. It's very regrettable, and we'll take our actions to correct it as quickly as possible.
We're keeping score.
I'm going to be texting in just a minute.
No pressure. Any other questions? If not, then moving on to recommended for board action. We'll start with personnel, which by law there will be no public discussion. This has been discussed in executive session. It begins on page 4. It ends on page 6. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Messick. I'm sorry. I do have to read one more in. It would be number 25, appearing on page 6. The heading would be administrative leave. And it states, approve an administrative leave with pay for employee number 5581, effective February 5th, 2019, until further notice. So that will be number 25 included in the vote for this section. So with that, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Chirico?
Yes.
Mrs. Helberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezig?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to HIB determination, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Chirico?
Thank you. In executive session, we did review one new HIB, number 24, which was unconfirmed.
Tonight then we'll be voting on case number 22, 2018-22, 2018-23, which have both been confirmed as HIB. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Chirico?
Yes.
Mrs. Helberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezig?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to education, beginning on page 7, ending on page 8. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks? Second. Mrs. Chirico? Board discussion? I have one. And it really was on page 7 under textbooks approval. The list that we got, I'm talking about social studies and science with the exception of one textbook in science, which I believe was pretty much a more recent date. The other dates were all 2005 through 2007. And I just wanted a clarification that we use more updated resources as well. We don't just use books from 2005, 6, and 7.
Yes, thank you very much for the question and clarification. It's an accurate statement that you made about that. More specifically, one of the reasons we were so excited about the board's support for Newsella and bringing Newsella on board early this year was to continue to expand and ensure our teachers have access to the most up-to-date resources in the classroom. That being said, we still know that going forward we'd like to provide more up-to-date textbooks in the classrooms, and in the coming weeks to months we'll be putting forth some plans for how we can pilot some potential new resources in the coming year, and then through those pilots think about how we can begin to phase in, if you would, these new purchases over time. What I'm trying to be cautious about is the idea that we have a variety of different new investments we're making in curriculum materials, and want to make sure we're being as strategic as possible and balanced as possible in those investments going forward. That being said, we don't need to necessarily wait until we fully onboard our balanced literacy program to begin investing in new initiatives and resources for the science and social studies. And so I would be excited to present more details about that this springtime.
Forward to hearing that. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I can open it up to the public if anybody has a question for education. If not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks? Yes. Mrs. Chirico? Yes. Mrs. Halberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to special education, starting on page 8, ending on page 8. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Smith? Board discussion. If not, I can open to the public. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Chirico?
Yes.
Mrs. Halberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to administration, beginning on page 9, ending on page 9. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Shields? Board questions? Then I have one. It would be the non-public funding. Can you explain exactly
Yes,
what
so
that is?
there was new legislation recently that provided non-public schools with state monies for security. Our role in that is to be the flow-through agent. So schools within our geographical area would access that state money through us, but that is not local monies. Those are monies that would flow from the state through us to the non-public school, and the non-public school who is accessing that is listed here.
So they in no way have to get our approval. We just
No.
hold the money.
That's right.
Any other questions? If not, I can open to the public. If not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Chirico?
Yes.
Mrs. Halberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to finance, beginning on page 10, ending on page 10. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Halborn? Board discussion. If not, I can open to the public. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Chirico?
Yes.
Mrs. Halberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmi?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on now to policy, section G. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
I don't know who seconded. Was that Mrs. Halborn? Okay.
It was either me
It
or-
wasn't anybody. This is good. Okay. That's, look at Mrs. Ready. One typo, do we still call those typo in today's world? Okay, I
Yes.
just didn't know. Would be, under policy 3144, it should be tenure charges, not tenure changes. So please note that change on the agenda. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Mezak, Chair of the Committee.
Oh, yes. From the last meeting, we have no change in policy 3130, which is assignment and transfer, 3143, which is the dismissal, 3144, certification of tenure charges, and 3144.3, suspension upon certification of tenure charges. We did make some brief changes after the comments from the other board members. On 3144, we the comment at the last meeting was asking about notification notification by priority mail, that's gonna be handled in the regulation.
Which,
Excuse me, no, sorry.
excuse me, which 3144?
Yes, I made a mistake, sorry about that. There was no change on that one.
31.412 is no change.
Right.
Okay.
Under 3142, which is a non-renewal of a non-tenured teaching staff member, that's the one I was referring to. The comment had been asking about the receipt, the information, it's gonna be covered in the regulation. So the policy will stand as it is, the regulation will handle, the notification will be with the tracking number.
Thank you.
I misspoke before, 3144.3, what we changed in this, we made a format change for the heading. So all that's doing is shifting over, so it doesn't look like there's a duplicate. Under 3214, the conflict of interest, those sections, you're counting down. Paragraph 7, 8, and the step gives have been removed.
They're the duplicate.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's see, I think there's one more. 3216, dressing and grooming. There's just been some minor changes on here. C is referring to just teachers. E, E now reads, principals may provide reasonable modifications to the policy and must notify the superintendent's office when implementing any modifications to the dress code. Principals may also determine the appropriate dress to be worn on workdays students are not in attendance. All of the personnel shall follow the regular standards for dress on all workdays unless directed differently by their supervisor. The section here, so that was incorporated in there, what we had down there for the support staff, that was the comment that was made before, that's been taken out of there. Under the staff shall inform the building principal, and it said the comment had been may and must, so must was removed. And on the second page of the policy, the last sentence had read, requests shall be approved in advance by the building principal on a case-by-case basis. It now reads, or excuse me, on, it said or, now it reads on.
Any questions?
Just have a couple. Thank you for making all the changes based on the comments. I noticed on 3130, the assignment and transfer, the copy that we received with this agenda, there was spacing issues on the second and third paragraph that were not there the first time we received it, except, and then it was blank and then transfer in the third paragraph. It's just maybe before it gets on to the
Can you repeat that part?
spacing issues, 3130 assignment and transfers. The way it looked this time that we received it, I can show you too, it's exempt and transfer spacing issues that wasn't there the first time.
Before it gets posted,
If you could just check
we can
that.
just make sure that it's formatted correctly.
Then I still have with the dress and grooming, the 3216. I guess one of the concerns is that the 3,000s are the teaching staff members and, and the support staff paraprofessionals have their own 4,000. So that policy is still going to be in effect if we were to approve this now. So to me, it's very conflicting with, and also, this is specifically for teaching staff members. So why are we including the others in there again? I still have that, concern.
I'll take that one. We're going through the 3000 series. As you can tell, all of these are 3000 series. So I presented that to the policy committee. In the next meeting, the 4000 companion to this will be on the agenda, and it will be consistent with one that we have here. So logically, it probably should have been done at the same time, but we'll be doing that expeditiously with our next policy committee meeting.
What about the volunteers, though? Would that be under, there's a policy on volunteers? But that's a hard one, because you have volunteers that come from high school who aren't going to be dressed, and I don't mean to criticize anybody, but they're coming right from class. Some of them, they may not be dressed professionally, and that shouldn't be really held against them. You know, you have to understand. So volunteers is a little bit different.
Yes.
I don't know how you want to handle that. Something maybe talk about with the policy committee.
Okay.
They still need to be neat and clean, but you're just not going to have maybe professional educator work. Thank you.
The other question I had was under certification of tenure charges, was there going to be any updates to the reg, the administration? Or was that even any changes?
That was 3144?
Right, I had asked the last one if there was going to be any updates to the reg, and you said you'd follow up on that. Is there going to be?
Yeah, yes, we will, the next policy meeting.
Okay, any other questions for the policy?
Oh, I have one other one, and where I mentioned this last time too, that attendance 3212, the reg has a different title than the policy. The reg is professional staff attendance, and the policy is attendance. Just that could be looked at.
Okay, all of these policies are on for their second read, which means they were read at the meeting preceding this. So if this passes, if this motion passes, then these policies would be in effect as of this evening at, I guess, 8:30. So with that, I can open it to the public if there's any public comment on any of the policies. If not, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Jericho?
Yes.
Mrs. Helberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salmon?
Yes. Moving on to old business. Does anyone have any old business?
I have one item. The board had previously made some inquiries about voicemail for the staff with our new phone system. I guess we have to give credit to Mr. El Taib for this particular negotiation item with Altice. They will be providing separate voicemail lines for each of our teachers that will not cause the phone to ring in the classroom during class time. So those will be provided at no cost, even though there are additional lines, and that was in light of the significant challenges that we've had and an acknowledgement, as well as moving a server to that we have in a room, and that will also be done at no charge.
Great, thank you. I know that some parents have made comments to a few of us on the board that they wanted to leave a message, a voicemail for a teacher, and the extensions have changed and couldn't, and didn't feel like they wanted to go through the main office to get a message and such. So we had asked Dr. McLaughlin to look into that. So thank you very much for following through. We'll give credit to Mr. L.T. Thank you. Any other old business? If not, new business?
Okay, so we will be scheduling 2 budget meetings upcoming. I said they would be scheduled shortly, and they are. So on February 28th at 6 p.m., we will be having a budget work session, which will be the board in public discussing the budget. The public is welcome to come and listen to the proceedings, but it is a board discussion of the budget, which will be held out here in this room. On March 14th, we will be scheduling a special meeting. It will be a work session. I'm sorry, on the 28th, we'll start at 6 o'clock. On the 14th, a special meeting. Also, the work session will start at 6 o'clock. We go from 6 to 7:30. And then at 7:30, we'll be going immediately into public session. And hopefully at that meeting, we will get the board to vote on submitting the budget to the county office for approval. It is due for approval on the 20th. If there are any other meetings that need to be scheduled, they will be announced and advertised as is required. These will be advertised also.
Thank you.
So at this time, I had promised under new business to share some of the input that Dr. Tanamian and I received the other evening in regard to, from our parent body in regard to the attributes for our new Director of Special Services. And we are collecting input from our staff and from our parents, both via survey and by open forums. So we'd like to begin by sharing some of the themes that we heard that evening, and then we'd invite the board to share any input that they would like us to consider in terms of this important leadership position.
Exactly, and I'd like to begin by just thanking those that came out the other night. We had over a robust conversation that lasted well over an hour, and it was extremely, extremely informative. Some common themes emerged from the conversation: the importance of a collaborative working style that's both flexible and transparent in the highest manner. Was really, there's a general consensus around that. The idea that the ideal candidate would come with a strong orientation to detail, and evidence of that in past working environments. Effective problem-solving skills is something that was really, there was consensus about us screening for through the hiring process. And then we spent a good amount of time talking about the need for a personal connection. That is someone who can come into this role and make personal connections with families and students and our community, at the same time demonstrating high levels of empathy. And then lastly, there was general consensus amongst the group that given the size of our district, given some of the challenges that we encounter, that we bring someone into this position who has demonstrated experience and leadership as a central office position in a similar working, in a similar position, or working environment, I should say. And again, as I closing comments, as I close tonight, I would just say it was a really robust, engaged, and strength-based conversation that was quite inspiring. So appreciate all those that came out last night to share their thoughts with us.
Thank you.
So at this time too, certainly we'd like to afford the board an opportunity to provide us with input of the same nature, so that we can consider all perspectives in terms of the candidates that we will be interviewing.
Okay. On my list, I have proactive, involved, and visible. Someone who is visionary, supportive, a doer, respectful and able to develop a culture of respect, genuinely invested in our students, someone who comes in extremely knowledgeable regarding special education law, programming, services, instruction methods, resources, best practices, etc. Someone who is an excellent communicator, and someone that can be a professional leader and a role model as well.
Thank you. Want to go right around the table?
I agree with many of all of the recommendations, but one thing that definitely stands out for me was talked about with personal connection and empathy. I think that's really necessary in order to build a team approach, which builds trust. And I think we're in the process of rebuilding, and I think that's really important, as well as somebody that comes to us with experience.
I would like to see someone who has experience in different testing parameters. I think it's hard for somebody to not be a leader to a child study group without having that information. And again, somebody that has a lot of empathy is, this is definitely something that requires a delicate touch.
Well, most of my list has been taken, but I will add, I had two that are not. One is works well under pressure. And the other one is
can make the tough decisions when they have to be made. I guess has a backbone, might be the way to put it, along with everything else that's been said.
I feel that with Dr. McLaughlin's experience in special ed, I have like someone that you believe in, that is a good fit for this district and can handle the responsibilities of this. So I trust you.
I put all my trust in you putting the right person in the position. And much more expertise in that than I have.
I just want to thank you, and I appreciate that you guys went out to the parent community and looked for feedback, and I think that's really important, and I'm sure they all appreciate that as well.
We will be sharing one of the requests by our parent group. As I mentioned, we do have a survey. We've had quite a number of individuals who have accessed the survey, both staff and parents, and there was a request the other evening if we could share the survey results. So I will be meeting again soon with our parent group for special education, and I did promise that evening to bring back those survey results at that time.
How long is that survey active for?
Well, we're going to keep it open until we start interviews. So I'll probably send something out a few days before we close it, but we are anticipating interviews, as I mentioned, the end of February. So probably somewhere around the 20th or so, we'll probably close it.
Before I ask for more new business, I would like to officially congratulate Nancy Hellborg, who was voted onto the Board of Directors for the Morris County School Boards Association at last week's meeting. So there were several of us there to support her.
And I thank you for.
You're very welcome. We enjoyed it, and we look forward to good things from what you can do. So thank you. Okay, your turn.
Oh, my turn. Thanks.
New business? Did you have new business?
Yeah, well, there wasn't much that was talked about at the actual meeting. They mentioned that it was last month was National School Boards Month. I think that's what they called it, and they said that they were updating our data system, and that was pretty much the gist of our meeting, other than the voting. I was there also to attend governance too, just in time for right in time for budget season, so it did it perfectly. It was very informative.
Good. Anyone else? New business?
We have Operation Smart. Yeah, we're excited.
I skipped over committee reports. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Okay, operations meeting tomorrow night.
And next week we have a education committee.
There's education and policy, I believe, at next Tuesday. Busy. Anything else? Okay, with that, I can open it to the public if anyone has something to say to the board. If not, may I have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Mrs. Brooks?
Second.
Mrs. Shields at, we'll use that clock, 8:40. Thank you very much.